Okay, so I'm back. I'm going to jump right into the second half of this video clip. Now, you've heard me say that the first Americans were black, and you may or may not have followed some scientific studies to show who the first Americans really were. In a lot of the scientific studies, they intentionally play on your ignorance. They know exactly who the first Americans were, but they work for a group of people who was established. The Western academia was established to mandate white superiority. And I know it sounds like a racist statement, but it's really not a racist statement. It's a reality statement. See, whites were in the process of conquering nations. They utilized the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church wrote what they call a bull, allowing them to conquer nations under the guise of religion. But they weren't going out to give the people religion and make them Christians. That was the guise. The real reality is they were going out for wealth and power to the Catholic Church. And that's why they went out. If they were going out with religion, they would have went out with Bibles, but they didn't. They went out with guns and ships and thousands of people because their intentions were to conquer, to bring wealth back to the empire, the Spanish ruling people, which at that time was Ferdinand and Isabella. But anyway, going to the science, when we talk about who the first Americans were, they know. They discovered this back in the 80s when they found the skeletons of black people. And some universities that weren't sponsored under Western academia put out the truth based on the science that they had available to them at the time. One of the sciences was a thing they call skull morphology, which was they measure the shape of a human skull. And based on the measurements of the shape of the human skull, they can tell which, what we call race, which is a misnomer, but which phenotype, that means shape of skull, that these people had, which is how they identified who the people were. But what a lot of people don't realize is that we're all human. Okay, we all came out of Africa. Africa has the largest diversity of human genetics, therefore the largest diversity of phenotypes. Now, we today are under the impression that words like Asian mean Chinese or whatever, and words like Caucasian mean white. But you have to realize that Chinese people, the people that we call Chinese, and Caucasian people, the people that we call white, have only been on the planet for 10,000 years at the most. They didn't exist before that. The reason that those people exist today is because of adaptations, mutations, and hybridization during the Ice Age. When I say hybridization, that means mates with other hominids. We're a hominid species called Homo sapiens sapien. Homo sapiens sapien is a black man. And everybody is out of Africa, majority of their genes are Homo sapiens sapien. Then Homo sapiens sapien met with and bred with another two species. One was called Neanderthal and the other was called Denisovan. We may find in the future that even some other species were involved in mating with humans when they came out of Africa. So now you have hybridization. So you have human hybrids that are part Denisovan and part human, or part Neanderthal and part human. And then those humans were trapped by the Ice Age. So imagine a Caucasian skull morphology breeding with a Neanderthal and then being trapped in the Ice Age glaciation. Their bodies had to adapt, but not only their bodies adapted, but their cultures adapted. The way they lived, how they lived, what they thought, what they felt, what they did, what they ate. All these things were generated from the isolation in the isolated Ice Age regions. But other things happened biologically to the humans. Limbs got shorter. That means your arms and legs got shorter in ratio to your body length to retain heat. If you lived in a cave, then body hairs increased based on percentages and the shape of the hairs around the body. And if you lived in the tundra, then you wore clothing. So that was an adaptation